Okay, excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see. All right, we're already getting the participation. I love it. Okay, so my name is Racheal Brooks and
Gail Hollowell.
And we are both from North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. And we are so excited that you are here. If you haven't already caught on, you will. We're very glad to have you all because we are going to share an innovation that we've been working on for a few years now. And we piloted last year with a number of faculty in our first cohort. And this innovation is called You Be the Reviewer. And so this is our approach using gamification for reapplying the Quality Matters rubric. So we're going to start out just briefly talking about some of the factors that led to the creation of this Applying the Quality Matters rubric mobile application. We're going to talk about the steps that were involved in that creation process, as well as look at how some of our faculty have changed their approaches to online course design as a result of their participation in that professional development application. And then finally, we're going to talk about how we as an office in charge of faculty training and assisting faculty with the development and then delivery of their online courses, how we've changed our practices as a result of the data that we collected from our faculty cohorts and those focus groups that we conducted after our pilot version of the app. So this session was designated as being applicable to persons who are experienced with Quality Matters, but then also those who are newcomers. So for those of you who are new to QM, the rubric that is the hallmark of the Quality Matters program, of course, is based on these 8 general standards. And so what we have done at North Carolina Central University is that we have instilled the use of the Quality Matters rubric as our way, our litmus test almost, of ensuring quality in all of our online courses, our hybrid courses, and then our faculty have also found they're beneficial for those face-to-face courses that they're teaching because their face-to-face courses are expected to be web enhanced. And so we utilize the Quality Matters rubric as our standard for quality course design. Now in doing so, our faculty are expected to take the Applying the Quality Matters rubric workshop. For those of you who are unaware of the APPQMR, it can be offered in 2 different ways. There is a 1-day face-to-face version, which is a short 7.5 hours. I'm a facilitator of this workshop, and so I'm very familiar. I affectionately call it our marathon. And what I found is that when we're working together with faculty, they're energized and they're excited. And it's the collaboration that's happening in the room. They're encouraged by the discussions that they're having with their peers. Even those who are new to the online environment, hearing about the experiences and kind of being able to talk about some of the anxiety that they may have about transitioning to the online environment is energizing for them. And then after the session is over, we get mixed reviews about what they remember, as well as how they are to incorporate the rubric after they've left our office for that 1 day. They can also take the rubric workshop online, either delivered by a facilitator, an online facilitator that we have on campus, or by the Quality Matters program. And the online version is a little bit longer. It is 2 weeks, and they are expected to submit a number of assignments to demonstrate their mastery of these different skills and utilizing the QM rubric. But again, it's a 2-week period with the expectation that throughout their career, they are going to be utilizing the Quality Matters rubric in a very substantial way. So the APPQMR is a prerequisite for all QM roles, and it is highly encouraged for all of our QM members. And the workshop itself goes over an introduction of the QM rubric. We talk about the general standards in great detail, and we use examples from a course that has been created by QM. But we also talk about some of the courses that our instructors are utilizing on our campus to really resonate with what they are doing. And then we also talk about the QM reviewer tools and the different resources that are available on the QM website. Now, this is some of the feedback we've received regarding the QM Rubric workshop. Now, this is a workshop I've facilitated not only on our campus, and my colleague has facilitated with me on our campus, but we've also facilitated this workshop throughout our statewide subscription within the University of North Carolina system. And it's the same feedback everywhere we go. They love the excitement of the workshop, they love the discussions, but they feel it could stand to be a little shortened, not because they don't want to spend the day with us, but because it's a lot of information that they're covering in a short period of time. The salient theme that has arisen from those workshops, though, is that our faculty want to have more real-world examples. What are they going to encounter in their actual courses that they can then use the Quality Matters rubric to address these issues? So we decided, okay, how can we reach our faculty? We can provide more workshops on campus because they are beating down the doors to get in and we always run out of space, which I'm sure all of you, yeah, okay. Our faculty, we are a heavily focused teaching institution. We are the first liberal arts college for African Americans in the country. And we pay special attention to our faculty's responsibilities to not only teach, but to conduct research. And we are a service institution. And so our faculty are expected to also complete service throughout their year. And so that leaves very inflexible schedules for professional development. And so my colleague, who is actually, John, I'm gonna call you out, Dr. Zachariah Jouaibi and I, we are an office of 2 for nearly 700 faculty. So not only are we thinking of ways in which we can reach our faculty and scale the amount of work we have to do, but how can we reach them when they are able to be reached at their varying schedules? And so we thought, okay, well, why don't we create some type of, bring the professional development to them. And so we were introduced to a local startup and developed an app where we would have our faculty review the information that they had covered in the Applying the Quality Matters rubric workshop, whether it was face-to-face or online. And they were able to complete professional development in their own time. So the first phase of our app development process was conducting the research and then requesting permissions from QM, because we're going to use the app, we're going to use the rubric, we want to make sure that everything is aligned with Quality Matters. And so once we got the go-ahead from QM, we really jumped in and built out this app in a way that allowed us to create these real-world examples, situations that they may encounter with their colleagues or they may see exemplified in their own courses. After that, we spent about a year developing the app. So a good portion of 2016 was dedicated just to developing the scenarios, selecting the hypothetical faculty, creating backstories, and then making sure that the rubric was incorporated in a very intentional way that allowed our faculty to see themselves in the game and then to feel confident as they provided advice to these hypothetical peers. And then we conducted developer tests in 2017. We reached out to everyone on the back end, try the game, try the game. We would reach out to our director of Division of Extended Studies. We reached out to our high flyers who were always in our office. We even reached out to some of our administrators. We said, just play it, see what you think about it and give us feedback. And then after that, we implemented our beta implementation, where we had our first cohort of faculty, we'll talk about them in just a bit, who went through the app, played the game for a period of, they had a total of 6 weeks, but essentially they were expected to complete the game in 4 weeks. And then after that, we collected data, conducting focus groups, peer evaluations, and just to get an idea of what worked well, what could be improved, and is this even a venture worth undertaking? And we found that, and, you know, we were excited. It was. We were able to identify that our faculty really resonated with this app. And so we have spent a good portion of 2018 not only presenting about what we are doing, but then also implementing changes in our practices. The data that we collected from the Rubric app and the follow-up focus groups with our faculty allowed us to see some areas of our practices that we can improve upon. We noticed that we focused more on standards that they seemed to have a pretty good hold on. And there were other areas that we could place our attention. And so we'll talk about some of those data-driven changes in just a bit. We also embarked upon licensing, and I'm glad to say we are at the tail end of our licensing phase, and so we own our content. And we also were delighted that a number of Quality Matters administrators were very interested in what we were doing, and this summer had an opportunity to play through the app as a cohort as well. And so we received some very valuable feedback from our colleagues here in QM. In phase 7, that incorporated an update of the app based on the new 6th edition of the Rubric that came out in July. Like I said, we started this app development in 2016. And so we were utilizing the 5th edition of the Rubric. And so some of our examples had to change. Some of the ways in which we presented the content needed to change. And so we had implemented those changes, and we are now in the process of having another set of cohorts go through the game. So we're going to have faculty play the game throughout the 2018-2019 academic year. From there, we do plan to continue to collect data, now more structured and more focused, since we know exactly what it is that we want to investigate. And we have a variety of research interests that we are going to pursue with regard to this application. And we plan on disseminating this information through presentations as well as submission of manuscripts in 2019. We do plan to, as I had mentioned, we have a statewide subscription within the UNC system. And so we want to make sure that this is available to our colleagues. Most recently, our system office has heard the call of our UNC system institutions and has established the UNC System Quality Matters Council, which I am pleased to serve as co-chair of that council. And we are going to be modifying this app so that we can have representation from the different 17 institutions within the UNC system so they can see themselves in the app. They can play along and provide feedback to their colleagues at a variety of institutions. And then finally, we hope, we're targeting 2020, to make this app available to our QM community members. And so coming to a mobile device near you. We're excited about this. And so as we continue our data collection, we're looking for ways in which we can improve this and make this as beneficial as possible to really reinforce those rubric standards that are learned during the APPQMR. So as I had mentioned, we are currently at, yes, Eagle, we are currently at phase 7. We have completed the rubric update, and I'm pleased to announce that our next cohort of faculty will go through the 6th edition version of the reapplying the QM rubric app starting next week. So we are going to continue our data collection next week. Now, just to give you a little bit of background about this application, there are 20 challenges that faculty are going to complete over a period of 6 weeks. The challenges are disseminated to the faculty. They receive notifications on their phones. They will receive emails letting them know a new challenge is available. And that is Monday through Friday for 4 weeks, with a buffer zone of 2 weeks to allow persons who, because of varying schedules, needed additional time to complete their challenges. And the challenges were meant to minimize the cognitive load of our faculty. We know when they're taking the APPQMR, it's a lot of great information at one period of time. And so we want to space that out. And we wanted our app to be something that our faculty were excited about engaging with. And so in doing so, we decided the challenges would only last between 3 to 5 minutes. And they could access the challenges via their iPhones, their Androids, or they could also do so on their web browser. And the only requirement was that they had previously completed the APPQMR. So I see, I wonder if I can get some volume on here. Let's see. Oh, do we have our volume? Thank you. That'll do it. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to show you our promotional video, a trailer of our application, just to give you an idea of what our faculty were engaging with when they were playing through the app. Okay. That's all right. It's just a little background music. Just imagine some nice smooth jazz playing in background. So as you can see, the app was created in a way to be seamless, to allow our faculty providing advice. So the reason why we decided to utilize because it allowed us to change the experience of the learning environment, increased access to our faculty. So as I had previously mentioned, we wanted to make sure that we were getting faculty engaged at times that were convenient to them. It also allowed us to chunk the material in a way that we were unable to do when we were presenting the workshop for the full day. We weren't able to spend as much time as we would like because different elements of the agenda had us focus on a variety of strategies and standards, but not necessarily having enough time to look at all of them. And this review app was a way for us to expand that such that faculty could look in more detail about each of the rubric standards. And it also allowed our faculty to receive immediate feedback. As you saw from the promo, when they would select answers, not only would they receive feedback for their correct answers, but if they had selected an incorrect answer or an answer that wasn't as correct as another, they would receive feedback explaining why that particular answer was not the appropriate choice, as well as giving them information that they needed to help them select the correct answer based on what they should have learned from the APPQMR. And in doing so, we were able to have our faculty engage in active learning. They were actually able to utilize their knowledge and apply that to hypothetical situations. And we say hypothetical, but in actuality, these are situations they would usually encounter either with their colleagues or in looking at the mirror at themselves. And then it encouraged behavioral changes. So not only did our faculty make changes to their individual course shells, but then they also felt empowered to assist their colleagues when they would come to them with issues or concerns regarding their online courses. So I would like to talk a little bit about our cohort, and then I'm going to have my colleague, Dr. Hollowell, who's been waiting patiently, to explain to you all her experience as one of our first cohort members to play through the app. So we had 7 faculty, surprisingly from 7 different disciplines, who completed the game during a 6-week period in October of 2017. And of course, they had to have completed the Applying the Quality Matters rubric workshop at some point. So for some, they had completed it the week prior. Others had completed the rubric workshop 3 years prior. And so since, again, the APPQMR is our introduction for our faculty to the use of the QM rubric on campus, we wanted to make sure, okay, well, what were you actually retaining? What have you retained? And so, again, this is Dr. Gail Hollowell. Here you see a number of courses that she has instructed on NCCU's campus, one of which she has taught online, cancer biology, biology 4350. It has been a few years since this particular course was taught online. But what I'm excited, and I hope she's going to share about, is how in recent months, after having been introduced to the QM rubric and the use of the QM rubric, how her approach as well as her transition back to the online environment has been peaked. So, Dr. Hollowell.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So I have been teaching at North Carolina Central for 16 years. And I have sat in on faculty sessions where we talk about the student population. So at one time we described the traditional student ages 18 to 24. Our non-traditional students, older than 25. When we look at the online environment and even within the classroom today, that dynamic has totally changed. So I don't know if there are any key descriptors of a traditional student and a non-traditional student. What is common to us faculty now is seeing students in the classroom that are working, they have family commitments, so the online environment is convenient. So in as much as we have these discussions about how the student population has changed, it's key that we as faculty accommodate their learning styles. So teaching online courses, there needs to be professional development offered for us faculty to come up to speed with where our students are. So as Racheal mentioned, I've been teaching these courses, primarily General Biology 1 for our majors at NCCU for the past 16 years. And the opportunity came for me to develop an upper level course, and at the time it was cancer biology. And then there was a need to offer this course online. And currently, when it was first offered, it was offered prior to taking Quality Matters. So most faculty make the assumption you can take what you currently have in your Blackboard course shell or your online learning platform and just copy it over and offer it as an online course. And when the students don't perform well, you know, it's the typical response, the students aren't reading, the students aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but there is no onus for the faculty about what we could have done differently to adapt to their learning style. So as Racheal mentioned, I was a part of the initial faculty cohort that played the gamification for the app development. I am not a techie. And I also took the Quality Matters course. I was one of the first groups in a faculty learning community offered on our campus in 2014. So I was one of the ones who hadn't seen the material in maybe 2 or 3 years. So this reviewer app was very timely just to kind of reinforce what did I remember and how could I better apply it to kind of meet the technology needs of our current student. So some of the benefits that we saw to reinforce the standards was the opportunity for professional development. So there are limited travel funds for faculty to physically go to conferences to get faculty professional development. So having an online opportunity is ideal and extremely convenient. For personal satisfaction, again, it is making sure that we faculty are staying current with our students. Just like we want to engage our students in the classroom, we faculty were engaged through this app to improve engagement and learning outcomes. Some of the things that I remembered from the course and was able to better apply was to make sure that my slides and my presentations were ADA compliant. So in the physical classroom, there are certain things you can do to gauge attention, learning styles, and how to best respond to questions. But in the online environment, you literally have no idea. So I was more intentional in making sure that there were closed caption videos, that there was read over, voice over text information, just to make sure whatever type student that was taking the course could easily or more easily read and respond to the material. Okay. Some of the other things was making sure that it met the needs of those units on campus that needed to meet their accreditation standards. So we had faculty from the Department of Nursing, as well as from the School of Business, that have their own accrediting bodies. So by aligning their courses to the QM standards, it also was in agreement with what their accrediting bodies needed. It also decreased our faculty's anxiety level. Okay? So we were experiencing what it was like to be a student for 4 to 6 weeks. And some of us, being typical students, may have procrastinated until those last 2 weeks, but we found it very convenient if we were, as faculty and as parents, if we were waiting at the bus stop for our kids to get on the bus, that 3-minute nugget, that 5-minute nugget was just long enough to go through one of the exercises. And there were subtle notifications throughout the period, and if I'm not mistaken, it was just Monday through Friday. So the weekend work was optional, but it was just enough in small doses over a set period of time to reinforce or send friendly reminders about what we should have learned, okay? And it also provided an opportunity for peer collaboration and competition. So again, there were 7 different departments or disciplines represented, and some of the stories that were shared were similar amongst, we're all heavy in our teaching load. And this course was offered just after fall break, so we were in the thick of things during the semester. So it was, how are we going to figure out to squeeze in one more thing? But it wasn't taxing. It was very user-friendly. The hardest part was to download, and that wasn't difficult at all. But it was just very friendly and very relatable. And it also, friendly competition. So it was who finished first, how frequently did one play the game, and then at the end of the semester, there was a session where we all faculty sat around the round table and discussed pros, cons, what we liked, dislikes. But overall, it was just a welcome professional development opportunity where it wasn't set on a set day, a set time, only offered once during the semester, and we may have missed it.
So, you've heard so much about it. How many of you would like to play it? Awesome, wonderful, okay. And if you didn't, you're gonna play anyway. So, we are going to gamify. And it works, yes. Gotta love it when technology works. Okay, so this is the beginning of the Rubric app. And let me reinforce, this is not a replacement for the Applying the Quality Matters Rubric workshop. It is simply meant to reinforce what learners should have gained from having participated. And so you're going to see what our faculty experienced as they were playing through the app. All right, so we have our first chapter. We're going to head and click on this. You be the reviewer. Pardon me, I am going to read some of this out loud. No, I'm going to read this out loud as we work through this together as a family. Okay, so you be the reviewer introduction. Today is your first day as a Provisional Quality Matters Liaison for North Carolina Central University. But before you dive in, Racheal Brooks wants to lend a helping hand. All right. So you've just gotten good news. Racheal Brooks has approved your nomination, go you, to serve as a Quality Matters Liaison for North Carolina Central University. Your role will help NCCU faculty prepare for the Quality Matters review process and improve the quality of their online courses. This morning, you're meeting Racheal on campus to receive instructions for your new role. You arrived several minutes early with coffee in hand, ready to see what the day brings. Good morning, conference attendee. Today's the big day, and the faculty at NCCU are anxiously awaiting your arrival. Before you start, I have a few simple last-minute questions just to make sure you're prepared for the role. Before we get started, you know what Quality Matters is, right? Sure I do. Quality Matters is, and so you're going to select the option. A sitcom from the 1990s, a program that helps faculty design and evaluate online courses based on a set of quality assurance standards, a division of NCCU's Office of E-Learning that offers faculty development for online courses. Which one's the answer? Okay, so let's just say, now remember I said you're going to receive feedback regardless of the response you provide. So let's go on and choose a sitcom. That's incorrect. You're thinking of Family Matters, okay? Family Matters, starring Jaleel White as Steve Urkel. All right, what about this one? Okay, the Office of E-Learning subscribes to Quality Matters, but Quality Matters is a cross-institutional program. So we're gonna go with the answer that you did choose. Yes, as subscribers to Quality Matters, NCCU has access to the Quality Matters rubric, professional development materials, and course reviews. These resources are available to all NCCU faculty. Okay, so we've chosen the correct one, a program that helps faculty design and evaluate online courses based on a set of quality assurance standards. I know that was an easy one. I was just double checking to see if you were paying attention. Here's a trickier question to make sure I've selected the right person for the job. How many standards are in the Quality Matters rubric? Easy. There are 3 general standards and 26 specific review standards, 8 general standards and 42 specific review standards, or 14 general standards and 57 specific review standards. Which one's the answer? Okay, we're gonna go with 2. Excellent. All right, so yes, these standards are used to evaluate the quality of online courses and help guide faculty in creating effective online courses. Just remember, the ultimate goal for any online course at NCCU is to be Quality Matters certified, which means it meets review standards set forth by the Quality Matters rubric. You are going to get this question a lot. Does a course meet all 42 specific review standards in order to be certified? Is that true? So you're thinking a moment before you answer, okay? So do all 42 specific review standards need to be met? Or no, not all 42 specific review standards need to be met. Okay, we're gonna go with no. Okay, so you need 85% for certification. However, there are some items in the Quality Matters rubric that must be satisfied in order to be certified. Okay, so we will, and this is an opportunity for us to discuss what those specific criteria are. So we talk about those essential standards. But notice, we've gone through just that, and we're already 75% complete with the very first challenge. So the way that this was designed was set up such that faculty could use just a brief moment of their day to go through and remind themselves of why we utilize the Quality Matters rubric, why they took the APPQMR in the first place, and how they are expected to incorporate those rubric standards in their online courses. Now, the challenges later on in the game are much more focused on actual scenarios regarding the concept of alignment, regarding whether or not a variety of accessibility standards have been met, making sure that learner support pieces are in place, discussing the appropriateness of the different course level objectives and module level objectives, as well as the selection of their instructional materials and activities. So we go into much more of that, but still in a way that they are only receiving those 3 to 5 minute chunks. Alrighty. So this is an example of our performance analytics that we received from our faculty completing the game. We saw as a cohort, our faculty completed all of the challenges. We were so excited. All 7 faculty completed all of the challenges by the end of the 6 weeks. But not only that, we saw that our faculty answered approximately 70% of the questions correctly the first time, which was very enlightening for us. So it's like, okay, well, that's great. You know, we had a variety of faculty with different experiences and different time frames in which they had taken the APPQMR. But if we are requiring this as a standard for our campus, you know what QM says, 85%. Average is not good, and we want more than good enough, okay? So 70% was helpful for us, but we wanted to ensure that more was happening. But what we did gain from this is that our 7 faculty completed a total of 412 minutes of professional development on their own time. Without us having to physically be there, we could still support them and provide professional development when they found the time to access it. As you see also, we were able to see which of our instructors were the first finishers, as well as special details dealing with their captivation rate. So the period of time that it took for them to complete a challenge after having started it, as well as their high competency areas and their lower competency areas. So when we meet with them one-on-one in these consultations, we know which areas we can focus on. But we also saw that as a cohort. What were the areas that our faculty were excelling in? And then what were some of the areas that they probably needed more attention? And so we took this data, not only from the performance analytics, but the focus groups that we conducted to cause change in our practices. And so what we recognized is that we needed to make sure that our professional development utilized the Quality Matters rubric, not just reference it, but make sure that that was ingrained in the fabric of what we do. If this is a standard on our campus, it needs to be present in all that we do. We also saw that a potential competency area for improvement was assessment and measurement. And so we wanted to make sure that after developing and working with faculty on the development of their course level objectives or their student learning outcomes and their module level objectives, that we then made sure that alignment was present and that they were actually assessing the objectives that they had written for their learners. And then there was also an area for improvement dealing with course technology. So we wanted to make sure that the technology not only supported the achievement of their objectives, but that the technology was accessible to the learners, that they were easily able to acquire it, and that it had a specific purpose for its use in the course, and the support elements were present. So from that, this is an example of one of our, so this is our current fall semester training schedule. So not only do we do kind of like an a la carte menu training for our different departments in our schools, where the administrators can select what type of professional development they want for their faculty, and we go to them. But we also provided set trainings throughout each month of the fall semester, focused on the various elements that we found needed additional attention. So we wanted to talk about accessibility, and then we focused heavily on incorporating technology and making sure that technology was accessible. We talked about an integrated approach to enhancing interaction in their courses and how you can utilize assessments, for example, formative assessments, in the process by which students are interacting with one another. So showing that these are not operating in silos, but that you can integrate them and make sure that our learners are benefiting from those experiences. We also talked about I loved this workshop, crafting effective learning objectives and establishing alignment, specifically dealing with the assessment piece. So there are some areas, as we had mentioned, that our faculty really seem to have a handle on, but those that they needed additional attention, we made sure in each of our workshops, we highlighted how those areas should be addressed. And then this November, we're going to be talking about service learning in the online environment. We also have incorporated the brainchild of our senior instructional designer, something we call Appy Hour, where we said, okay, our faculty want to know about how they can utilize technology in their courses effectively. Well, during Appy Hour, which happens every first Tuesday of the month, We bring them donuts and coffee because that works sometimes. But it has been very effective, not just the snacks, but our faculty are coming to learn about the benefits of the use of these different types of technology. So we have selected specific types of software, different teaching tools. We've allowed our faculty to provide suggestions about what they would like to see covered. And during that period of time, we talk with them not only about the user friendliness of that technology and the different strategies they can incorporate in using that technology in their classrooms and in their online environment, but also the andragogical benefits of them. How are our adult learners benefiting from the use of that technology? And how does it support the achievement of their objectives? And sometimes we have the discussion of, well, I know you love Poplet, but to which objective does this align? And if they cannot align it, it tells us one of two things. Either there's an objective you have not yet untapped, and we might need to talk about, you know, if it's that important, is there an objective out there that needs to be addressed? Or maybe it just, that technology doesn't belong in this course this semester. We need to have those types of conversations. And then we've also established a number of e-learning communities within our campus, so faculty can connect with one another and discuss how they are incorporating these different standards in their courses, as well as not just the design, but the delivery. We've also developed a Blackboard best practice template that's already designed to meet a number of quality matters standards. And the explanation that our faculty receive is that this is not a prescriptive way of doing this. This is a suggestion. We care, I don't want to say we don't care, we care that how the standards are met, but there's not one specific way to meet the standards. So here is a jumping point. It's a starting point for you to see how the standards can be met in your course. They can use it as is, they can modify it to fit their needs, or they can use it as a way to get ideas about how they can meet the various standards in their course. And then we've also developed our NCCU quality course design cohorts. These are specifically cohorts developed for faculty who are interested in submitting courses to undergo the official QM review. And so our first cohort of faculty will, in consultation with the Office of E-Learning, spend an academic semester or an academic year based on the needs of the cohort to investigate in further detail bi-monthly meetings in which they are going to be looking at the intricacies of the annotations for the different rubric standards, and we are working with them in applying those standards within their courses. The expectation then being that when we have our second cohort of faculty participate, the first cohort will serve as mentors. And then our second cohort will serve as mentors for the third cohort of faculty. I am glad to announce that we are finishing up with our third cohort of faculty now, with the expectation that these 5 courses will undergo QM review by the end of December. So they are on their way. And not only that, there has been a buzz on our campus about Quality Matters. Again, we are implementing it at an institutional level. And so we have a number of areas who are submitting courses for QM reviews. So NCCU currently has 12 courses that are QM certified. Of those 12, 9 of them have received all points. In addition to that, we're now moving on with our 4th cohort of faculty, and through a number of grants and initiatives, by the end of this academic year, we will be submitting an additional 32 courses for QM certification. Yes. Okay. So, but we are very excited about the opportunities that this presents. And again, from utilizing this rubric, we have been able to make some really substantial changes in our practices, as well as the ways in which we support our faculty. Each of these cohorts, after having completed the APPQMR, will also be, they have been granted access to the app. And as they are preparing their courses for QM review, they will also be playing through the app to help them in a very practical way utilize the QM rubric and consider ways in which they can do so in their own courses. So as we conclude, I would like to give a special thanks to our sponsors, of course, to North Carolina Central University for always supporting us. We have an amazing team, and in conversations with a number of colleagues, I recognize how very fortunate we are that we have support not only with our faculty, but at the administrative level, who are committed to ensuring quality throughout the curriculum, regardless of the modality. Our colleagues at Talented, who have provided the platform for us to be able to convey this content. And then, of course, Quality Matters, who has supported us from the very beginning. So at this time, both Dr. Hollowell and I would love to address any questions that you have. I know we only have about 5 minutes to do so, but we'd love to entertain any questions that you may have. Don't be shy.
Does your app just deal with the 8 general standards?
Yes, that's correct. So it deals with the 8 general standards. And since it is dealing with, we're focusing on what they had learned from the Applying the Quality Matters Rubric workshop. We look at the 8 general standards, and they review all of the 42 specific standards, specific review standards. We do not focus on course delivery. We approach it from the same perspective as the rubric workshop, focusing solely on course design. There's a question in the back.
Are you guys going to open it up for people outside of NCC?
Yes. Sure, absolutely. So yes, we do have plans for making this available to our colleagues outside of NCCU. In 2019, we aspire to make this available first to our colleagues within the UNC system, our statewide subscription. And we are in talks right now with Quality Matters with the hope of making this available to the broader QM community in the very near future.
Someone online had asked about the cost of it, but it sounds like you just answered.
Okay, yes. Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Well, if not, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this has been beneficial and informational for you all. And again, if you would like to reach out to either one of us, please feel free to do so. And we'll be glad to share our thoughts and collaborate with any of you who are interested, and we're always looking for research buddies. So please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.